All right, I'm live. Let's move Mr. Howard. There we go. Okay, it's time for another trunk show / tub show. So we're going to go through this tub today. This is the last big tub of old quilting projects. I got to get the curtain off Tippy. It's bothering him. There we go. All right, so we're going to go through here and see what I've got. And here comes Tippy to be right in the way. All right, don't hit the keyboard with your fanny. Give me a second. There's always got to be some cat chaos. Cat chaos, cat chaos. That's what we got going on here. There's always some cat chaos. All right, so let's pick this up. This is something I put together. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Janice. Because I really wanted to do this quilt, and it's in a Quilts and More. This was my favorite magazine of all time because it's quilts and other projects. They don't do this one anymore, and I am so sad. But this one was from 2020. And the quilt is this one here because I thought it would be great to pull out in the autumn. And so these are the materials they used, but I shopped my stash and I put my own selection of fabrics in here. I don't remember which is which, but I'll just show you the fabric. So I've got this golden yellow. And I've got a big bunch for the background, which is a tone on tone, not really tone on tone. It's white on a cream. And then I've got some pumpkin-y spots. And I got this one here. Oh, I don't know what I was thinking, but I've got some little pieces. Because I was thinking more scrappy than what they did. And then I've got those two, and they are a lot more orange than what is showing up. Think darker orange, because these are darker orange. And then I've got, oh, here's some more of that orange that I have the small pieces. And then I've got some goldeny colors. So this isn't actually a already put together quilt top, but this is a quilt I really, really want to do. And let's see, we've got some real yellow, like sunshiny yellow, maize yellow, and then this brown. So now I got to put all these fabrics back in my project envelope. And I love these envelopes that have the gussets in the side because they grow. So you can put a lot inside one of them. Let's see if I can get my big piece back in there. I might have to pull that out real quick. So this isn't a quilt top waiting to be quilted. This is a project I really, really, really want to make. It's on the cover, but I'm going to leave it open to this so that I remember why I have these together. So there's one project. Then not sure what's in here. These were a bunch of fabrics that I thought I would put together. If I remember right, I think, yeah, I did. I got these at that fabric warehouse that's only open one weekend at the beginning of each month. And these are all, I'm probably not going to say her name right, but Kim Deal, Diehl. And they were put out by the Henry Glass Company. I have one of her books, and so I saw some of her fabric, and that's why I got it. So I've got this print. And these are all her fabrics. I don't know the name of this collection. If I see another salvage with her actual fabric name. Oh, Wit and Wisdom is the collection. I think these are all Wit and Wisdom. But I was so tickled to find so many of her fabrics at that warehouse sale that I just picked up a variety of them. And that's what these are. So these are to kind of put together a project that's in her book. So I have a collection of her fabric. It's probably not all the fabrics in that collection, but it was quite a few of them. So that's the Kim Dial Dill. All right, this stack here is some blocks in my old quilt group. We did a swap for house blocks. Let me get back here. Find the first one at the bottom of the pile. All right, and let's see, did they put their name on it? I don't see their name, but I was going to sew these together and do like a village picture. So here's a house, and I know the Pastry Queen is collecting 5x7 house blocks. I sent one in for her. She has them hanging behind her, and so she's got one of my little house blocks too, but it's a different swap, a different thing entirely. But this was just my little quilt group online, and that was somebody's. None of them are signed. So if you're watching and you're part of that group, if you recognize your house, give a shout out in the comments. I don't know if any of them watch me on here, but they're all different sizes and all different weathers. But we had a lot of fun creating our houses. So this just needs to be put together. And this one was mine because I always go crazy with all the different colors. And this is what I came up with. Mine's more of like a jungle hut than a house, but that's okay. All right. I knew that one was mine. Okay. And Catherine Hartley, she signed hers, and she did our big red barn with a heart. See the heart? And this one's not signed either, but it's just a regular little house. But see, I could add embroidery and all kinds of stuff to them and give them even more direct dimension. So that's the house blocks we swapped. I got these grouped together. These were autumn blocks that we swapped. So let's see. This one will have to be put on point because it looks like a bowl of pears. And this one's another one of Catherine's, and she called this Fall Harvest. She actually signed the back, which is, once it's put into a quilt, you won't see the signature, but that's okay. This was, I don't remember if I did this or somebody else, but it's harvest, you know, all the different vegetables and fruits. And this one's pretty. I almost guarantee that Anne Lewis did this one, and she's passed on, but she did the most amazing applique. She came down with cancer. Cancer's an awful thing. This one's beautiful with the Indian corn, or whatever you call it, the colored corns. Hi, Nettie. I'm going through my last big bin of quilt stuff, although I do have others. And then this one is one, I don't remember for sure, but I think I did this, but I don't know. I didn't sign my own work either. Oops. So those are those. I do think these were a lot of our little swaps. So I've got this one little orphan that's in here by itself. It's a windmill. And then I've got a little stack of, I think this is called, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's Churn and Dash. Is that what this is? If anybody recognizes it. But these are cute little blocks. And I can put these together and make a big, I think there's enough here for a baby quilt. Some went scrappy, some went, matchy. I'm more of a scrappy girl. I'd rather have a bunch of different scraps, but most everybody else likes, like these are red, white, and blue. I could send the red, white, and blue ones to somebody else. And then there's a bunch that are just plain green. But it's a cute block. It's super easy to make. It's a good beginner's quilt block to try. But see, I like the scrappy. I love scrappy. Pretty sure I did those, but I need to just go through and pull anything that's red, white, and blue and send it to somebody that's in the Quilts of Valor program. All right, then we've got signature blocks. So let me get to the bottom over here. Trying. All right. Well, some are signature blocks. This is kind of an orphan. I think this is what you call the disappearing 9 patch. If Barbara Clark was here, she could tell me. But I think you set this up as a 9 patch, and then you cut it and then turn everything, and that's how you end up with this. You like scrappy too? I do too. This one's not a signature, but it's a pretty block. These could definitely go into just a random throw it together and just get a quilt made. That one there. All right, then I've got the signature blocks, which I will keep because they have this. This was Mary Lou's, and it's not the Mary Lou Auntie Loopy. This is a lady I worked with at Joann's, and I don't know if she is still alive or not. Last time I saw her, she had cancer too. And it's been years. So this was Mary Lou's block. And then this one was mine. And this is when we were known as our Quilters Family Home. And that's our group still on, I think, on Facebook. But we had started on AOL groups and then went to MSN groups and then went to Yahoo groups. And then ended up on Facebook, but we don't really do anything anymore. But these will all stay together. This is Irene Vernon, and she is in England. I know her husband recently passed, but as far as I know, Irene's still around. And then we've got one that doesn't have a signature, so it'll go in the other pile with the other orphans. And then this one was Carolyn Vidal in Newport, Washington. And we did these, I can't remember the name of this, signature stars. This is my friend Diane Dixon up in Maine. She's a long arm quilter. And I just feel like I know these girls a lot. And this was from our Ann Lewis, who's not with us anymore. She says, Becky, you are a dear quilting friend. Love and hugs, Ann. So see, that kind of thing is why I can't get rid of the signature blocks. And this one was Marlene Lizer of some up in Maine. And I've lost touch of her. But the signature blocks will get folded separate from these blocks. Let's see. I think I had made these borders for a round robin, but maybe not. They could go and be added to the pumpkin pocket here that I started with. I'm just going to slide these in here in case I need an extra border or something. Let's see if I can snap this closed because it's driving me crazy. And I was in Katinka's room on school yesterday, and we were talking about it. And Diane, that's on there, she said that we should challenge ourselves to complete something like a quilt and have it done like, I can't remember, she said April or May. Hi, Laura. I'm about to be surrounded. Oh, okay. These have my niece's names on them. There's Candace and Kayla, and they're grown women, and one is married with kids of her own. And these are just little blocks I had started to make them something. So these will probably get recycled into something else. Like if I finish sewing them together, so I have, let me show you. I'll just see what's in Candace's. So you start with the small blocks, which are here. And I think these were made from like offcuts. And of course, Howard's going to start a fight. Howard, come on. Oh. Why do you guys always have to start something now? But I have those little squares, and you put them together and you make bigger squares. And then when you get a bunch of them, you start hooking them together. And what I could end up doing is I could sew them so it's like a big piece of fabric, and then I could cut something out from them, and make a bag or something. I might save these out and share them next Tuesday and say, look, I have these tiny blocks that the little girls they were going to be for are fully grown women now. So I need to do something else for those. I'm going to set those aside. It's fun looking through this stuff with you guys. Hi, Carol. And Lala's here. Hi, Lala. Howard got me too. Whew. All right. Now, these are really fun to do. So if you've got scrap fabric where you can cut like different widths of strips and just cut them off, you can make these. And what you do is you start with a square of muslin, and you start in the middle, and you put 2 strips down, right sides together, and then you take and you fold open the one, and then like say this one here was on top of this green, right sides together, you'd fold that out, and then you'd add face down the flamingos, sew them to the banana piece, fold that back out, and then add the people and so on. And then you go all the way to the corners, but it actually went this way because the seams are there. But once you get these sewn up, and we have a stack of those, once you get you a big stack of stripped piece blocks, that's what this is called, stripped pieces. All right. So say you've got one this way. This is where I need a design wall. If I take and I put this one like that, and then this one go like this, and then I put a piece up here. See how it makes a diamond? It's so hard to show you guys. Hang on. But you can play with the blocks once you get them made. So it'll end up looking like it has a square that's right here. So it'll look like continuous squares. But if you don't want that, you can do the opposites and end up with a zigzag quilt. So say I want this one this way. Let's see, you have to fiddle with them. Or you can continue it, but you can play and you get different designs. I just really like it when you put them so that the small little triangles all meet in the middle from their corners. Do a row with them all pointing up, and then do another row, but flip it so that the squares are in the bottom corner like that. And that way, when you do that, then you have this huge block, because I don't remember how big these are. I think they're 12 inches. So you'd end up with a 24-inch block, and then you'd put 4 of those 24-inch blocks together, and you'd have a baby quilt or a child's quilt. So if you have some fabric you just want to get rid of, cut it into strips, and then cut yourself some squares of muslin and just start sewing them to it. You can also do this on paper and then remove the paper after you get your quilt put together. I don't want to go to that much work of pulling all that paper at the end. And it doesn't matter what size strip you use. You just reach in and grab a strip and sew it down. Reach in, grab a strip and sew it down. As long as it's long enough to go from one to the other side, and then you just trim it down to the muslin square size. And these just all turn out pretty. It doesn't matter what you grab. You're just using up your scraps. You don't have to do these great big blocks like Crazy Becky here. You can do smaller blocks. I was just trying to use up strips that I had. And look here, I've pieced some bricks together. Bricks are like 3x5 little blocks left over from some project. And I just sewed them together and made a strip to go across. And bam. So if you've made a bunch of stuff in cotton, I love this one. Look at the cat swimming across it. I love this kind of quilt because it can also turn into an I Spy quilt of different things. And you can see how many blocks I've made up. I should keep these out and just sew them together into a quilt top and add it to the quilt top bin. I should count how many blocks I have here. I should have thought about that before I started. And sometimes you'll see some repeats. This one wasn't done on fabric, so maybe we did a swap for strips. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Let's see, 6 times 4 is 24. 4 times 4 is 16. I'm just trying to think how many blocks, do 4 of these blocks together, I'll end up with 2 extra of these blocks. But anyway, it's such an easy way to use up your scraps, and you end up with a really cool quilt in the end. It's also one of those, if you wanted to do just a strip swap, and then you could create your own own blocks from the materials that people sent you in. So you kind of have to figure out how many strips you would need to go across. And that really depends on their width, but you could get like an average number of strips and say, let's swap strips. And then you can do these up. You can also make your squares or your blocks up and then just put them together and then cut something out of them, like a tote bag or pillowcases would be cool with this technique because there would be no raw edges on the inside. These would make really neat pillowcases, unique pillowcases. But anyway, there's those. Spent way too long on those, I think. But anyway, this is another strip piece thing that I did. And what I did is I made the strip blocks like those, and then I cut them and then put them back together to create these triangles like this. Can you see where I cut them apart and then put them back together? And this is basically meant to be a table topper. Like if you have a small side table, you would just put this on it to protect the top of it. I could finish this up and give it to Scott for his little oak table. We got it at the thrift store for $14. I wasn't very straight on my seams, but you know what? That was a long time ago. Oh boy. Okay. These are some more just random orphans. There's that one. These were part of a swap. Guaranteed Ann Lewis did that one. It's a clematis she's got on there. I don't think she signed it. We weren't real good. Oh, this was a fun swap. What we did is we sent like fat quarters of a background fabric and then 2 prints. And we sent those to each other. They made a block, or I made a block in the fabrics that was sent to me. And then we sent the block we made back to the original person so that they could take those blocks and put them together and have a unique. So this was the fabrics I had sent out and the blocks I got back. So I have this one and this one. I don't know if I've got any more of those in here. I don't. So that's what that block was for. If I come across any more in those fabrics, because I remember doing that swap. That's weird. How some swaps just stick in your head. This is a wonky log cabin done on a piece of muslin to stabilize the wonkiness. And it's not been trimmed to size or anything. So it's just been pieced really quick and then sent off. Right there, they didn't quite catch it. Is it signed? Did I do this? I don't know. We did apparently a wonky log cabin. So here's another wonky. And this one was just done with no backing. I don't think they even did they didn't even do paper. I'm not seeing any remnants of paper on it. So it was just put together wonky, and then you just kind of squared up the best you can and then make it into a quilt. And then here's a log cabin that's not perfect either in squares. All right, so those were kind of orphan blocks, really. All right, now I've got some quilts that need to be finished. So, and this was being made for a little boy that's almost 18 now. So he won't want this, but it might be something, you know, I could find a home for. It's done all in flannel. And I have a border. I have some solid green, but it's all lizards and frogs and green, because that's what he was into. But it's got green fabric. So I do have monkeys, dinosaurs, lizards, frogs, just all kinds of things. So that's the actual quilt there. Now this was probably all flannel bought at Joann's because that's when I used to work there. So I was able to get, employee discount. So that was that. And then I did there's a border already made here to go. So I was going to put a narrow bit of this green here and then put a border and then a little bit more of this green, I think was the plan. And then I was going to need to get some flannel for the backing. I don't think there's enough there. That flannel's starting to show a little fading, but it'll be all right for a child's blanket. When I give a blanket to a child, I expect it to be used, abused, and washed repeatedly. So there's that. All right. So this was a quilt I started, and it's nearly finished. And it's also, this one's in on McCall's Quilting, and it's this one here. Here's a better picture of it. And I did this one in Batiks. Okay. Here. I'm looking to see what the pins are holding. Hang on. And this was not a very big, no, this one's not very big at all. I don't know. This is the start of it, maybe. There is something pinned. There's a pin right here. And I'm not sure why. I probably had it in there to mark, but these are all Batiks. I think maybe that's where I was meant to put the next start of the next row. Actually, doing this is giving some air to these. Okay, so these two are sewn or pinned together. So I was going to sew this seam and then attach it to the blanket, and that's what that pin is in that blanket for. So this is just more of the same here. So that'd be the next strip to go on. And I'll sit back down. And these are blocks pinned together, ready to be sewn and then put into a strip like the other. And then I put two strips together and then add them on. And then I was going to do some, I think this is like the remnants that I put together to make matching pillows. And there would be two pillows to go with the blanket. So these could be like accent pillows on a couch to go with the blanket that would be over the back of the couch. So that's those. Oh, and I had already made some bias tape for the edge. And it's not really bias tape because it's just strips. Do you know the difference between just cutting strips and actually making bias? Do you know what the difference is and why it's important to use bias on quilts? Let me know if you know why you need to use bias and not strips on the edge. Does anybody know? If you look at fabric, you have a warp and a weft. If you make just across the grain strips, if you get even a little hole, it'll just expand and it'll go all the way around. If you get a little hole and the strip is on the bias, it's cut on the bias and put on your quilt so it goes over, it won't open all up. Yep, it's stretched too, but I also learned that it will it affects the wear as well. If you want your quilt to last many, many, many years and have mendable situations of where a thread comes loose, you do it on the bias. All right. I'm not sure what is in here. Okay. These were, gotta open this up. I think this was another case of we sent fabric to each other and then made blocks and sent it back, because I have some of the fabric left here, and then I'd also purchased this fabric to do something else with. I don't know what, but we'll put those in, and then we'll look at the blocks that were made either by me or other people and then sent back to me, because this was definitely another one of those projects. And I can't remember if we each sent one fabric out and then the other person would add their own fabric to this one. I think that's what we did. So I sent out the green like this, and so I got this patchwork piece back, and then this one. So because my fabric is in every single one of these, even though they've got different ones, you know, matched up with them, it will still be something I can use together. So I need to do something with this. Let's see, I only have what? I have some more of the green, so I could actually make more blocks with what I have and then utilize that other fabric for something else. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5. So if I made 4 more, I could do a 9 patch, you know, 3 rows of 3 blocks, and that would be a baby quilt, and that could be done. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, this was one of those, it was a mystery, and it was something they were doing online. I don't remember what the site was or anything, but you just followed along, and you were supposed to end up with something that could be used as a baby quilt. So that's what this is. And didn't it turn out cool? Look at that. Again, another easy finish that's just sitting here. And that's why I really want to focus on my whips. I should be sewing on the dragon. I started the dragon yesterday. I am planning to work on him some, but I wanted to do a live. This doesn't belong in here. This is wool felt. This belongs with the felt. So I will put that with felt. Then I'm not real sure why this is in here, but it's just a piece of fleece with cats on it. I don't know why this is in here. Maybe I just ran out of room. And it looks like there's only, what, a yard and a half maybe? So technically this isn't a quilt thing either. Oh, these need to go somewhere else too. These are some vintage doilies. These need to be with my other ones. I want to get enough of these that I can sew them together and make a jacket or a skirt or something with them. Have y'all seen those on Pinterest where they use the different doilies and things? So I have a different place this needs to go. It's a pretty piece. This is just a gift bag, but I could cut it apart and turn it into something else. Not sure I would use this on the project I have in mind, but it's pretty. And then there's just a little piece of handmade lace, hand crocheted lace. And some Battenberg that needs to be pressed really bad. And then another little gift bag type thing. Then I've got some cat flannel. I could make myself a nightie or pajamas out of it. Oh, this goes with the frog and lizard quilt. This is what I was going to use for my backing. That's what this is. This goes with that. All right. Got some more cat flannel. Tippy says, cat flannel. I'll take it. Come on, buddy. Come on. If you're too hot, go somewhere else for a while. Sorry, boo-boo. Go on. I've got another start to a small quilt. I used to do a lot more quilting than I do now. Can you tell? There for a while, it was my craft of choice. United States Navy. Woohoo! It's a Navy flag. I think we picked that up at Greg's pass and review ceremonies. These are some of Greg's old t-shirts, so I was going to do a t-shirt quilt. And I'm not going to share all of those because some of those might get somebody upset. His t-shirts aren't always publicly friendly. Put it that way. Let's see what we've got here. We've got just 2 bags left. I'm going to put the flannel in and the fleece. I'm not going to put that back in here. This quilt here. There. Give me just a second. I have to get them kind of in here in a certain way for them all to fit. I should finish the frog blanket. All right. Those need to go somewhere. These are random squares and triangles, I think. I'm not going to pull them all out. They're just randomness. And this says Becky on the front. It's just random fabric. Somebody gave me. It might have come from my mom. I don't know. I'm going to put them back in there. So, there. I've got several projects in there that could be done as part of Diane's finish that. But if I'm going to finish anything, it needs to be a quilt that's maybe already put together. Like there's in one of the other tubs, I have that cat quilt that all it needs to do is have the quilting done and put the binding on, and it'd be ready to go in the car or the truck. It was meant to be a vehicle quilt. So that was that. All right. Tippy's sleeping on the floor. He got too hot in the sunshine. He's breathing so much better, but the mass is still there. But he's been playing and eating and doing everything he should. Oh, thank you. I sometimes I do too many different things, but I just pick something that'll make me happy for the day. And I try not to focus on the madness that's all around the world right now, and just make yourself grab a project. Even if you're not physically able to do something huge, you can still do something small. That's something you could do in your hands. um, Maybe a crochet project, maybe just gluing some paper to some other paper and make a card or a postcard. um, you know yeah. So I just wanted to share that's the last big trunk. Now I do have some smaller bins and stuff for another video. And I don't want to hold you guys up. I don't know when anybody goes live much anymore. Everybody's changing time, and I'm just doing whenever I'm up to it. Howard's coming through. If y'all move, that's why. He wants to be overheated in the sunshine. Um, so I'm just doing some shorter impromptus. I'm trying to upload shorts and that kind of thing. And then on Friday, I'm planning to do a video, just impromptu, of what I've been up to throughout the week. I finished 2 more dishcloths, so my total is at 48 so far for this year. And that's one a day for each day. And once I run out of crochet cotton, which is, it's going rather quickly now that I'm using it. You know, it happens that way. When you start using stuff up, you actually see some progress eventually. It's taken 48 days, but I'm getting it down there. My gift tub, I'll show you a peek of the gifting tub. I got to take this to the back room. I'm almost done with today's dishcloth. It won't get shared until tomorrow. Here's what I have in the gift tub. This is just something anything I make that I'd like to, I don't have a home for it. So it gets added to the gift tub. And the little dishcloth things I'm putting in 5x7 bags. I kind of wish I'd gotten like 8x10 bags, because it's kind of it's a real hard on some of these to get them in here. So this means I have, and I'm counting dishcloths, but I didn't count the 24 scrubbies that I've made on top of the dishcloths. So 48 and 24 scrubbies. And again, the scrubbies are getting made until I run out of that scrubby yarn. So I've got 24 sets of 2 dishcloths and a scrubby. I've made some chocolate, what I call chocolate baskets, and I've got them in here. And what else is in here? This is my favorite basket so far this year. More baskets that I've made. There's this blue one, and this one's just made scrappy wise because I just used what I had left of that, and then I changed to something else, and up and over. So these are just fun little baskets. One craft and chat, I sat and made this basket, and I don't have a pattern for these. I just start like I would a hat, and when I get to the width I want my bottom to be, I stop increasing and I just start going around. And then once I get up on the side, I just throw in whatever stitch I want to do. So I did some front post stitches there to get that. So you can mix your stitches up. If you get around and you end up with like more stitches than you think you should have, you just have to add a single stitch in the end, as long as your count is the same. I still have these in here that I made and nobody wanted in the gifting box. So I could always reuse the frames and just put those images into a journal. I've got the card sets that I put together. I went ahead and put the extra neck warmer towel that Vicki had made for me. This one was a little bit smaller than the other one, so I put it in here. I've got the Christmas bunting. I've got mug rugs. I've still got the little boy size 3 pajamas in here. And I've got a shorts outfit for a little girl, little sunset, and 2 pot holders. And that's just what I do is, you know, if I make something and I'm not planning to keep it, it ends up in here. And I might have to move the baskets to a bin of their own. Let me put these back in here. So that's what I do. And then like for my sister's birthdays or whatever, I'll let them choose something out of here. Just gonna put those back in there. So that's just a good way to be prepped for the holidays, is to, you know, make a couple things every now and then and throw them into a bin that you call a giftable bin. And then you're ahead when the holiday gets there. Or if it's just a random birthday get together, you can just grab something out of there. And bam, you have a gift. Or if you're invited to dinner somewhere and you want to take a little something. Make sense? Let's see. Carol says she's coming on at 3 o'clock. Is Anne coming on today, or is it Yolande? Are they still going back and forth, or is, you know, I'm just a little confused, but that's okay. I stay a little confused sometimes. And don't we all? All right. Yolande is on. So, oh my gosh, I forgot her channel. Why can't I remember it? They still swap. My fairy mug my sister made me is empty. Devin Rex. There you go. That's correct. That's correct. All right. So I will see some of you either on Friday or in a replay on Friday. I'm just going to go over the things I've sewn or made this week. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for hanging with me for a few minutes. Bye.